Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Sports. I am Ralph LaBella.
And I'm Ron Sen. Yesterday we had something unusual, a baseball player who actually melted down over some bad pitching that he was doing. Trevor Bauer, who's been one of the top pitchers in the American League the last couple of years, had a lot of seeing eye hits, and Francona was going to come to take him out, and he took the ball and he threw it into the center field bleachers.
Wasn't there 3 errors too?
Well, anyway, it was a lot of frustration on his
I'm
part.
hoping they get upset at him and trade him to the Yankees. That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, I don't know if you, hopefully we can't read lips, because I think Francona said something not very nice about what was that about. And Bauer's a really good pitcher. And, we'll see. Obviously, baseball's free agent market has opened. That is a big change from before, because there was a waiver period after free agency, and now it all ends in a couple of days. The Yankees are presumably in the starting pitcher market at least, and one of the top starting pitchers out there, Marcus Stroman, went from the Blue Jays over to the Mets.
What was that about?
I don't know. I don't really know what it was about, because the Blue Jays obviously want to get younger. They got younger talent. They have Guerrero Jr., Biggio. I think they just brought up Bichette's kid. So they're really going young. And
they might have wanted to keep him in the National League too, rather than trade him to the Yankees or Red Sox.
So, and we don't know what the Giants are going to do as far as Baumgartner, who's been a terrific pitcher, hasn't been so great this year, but the Giants are within striking distance, and this is Bruce Bochy's last year managing. So there's some feeling that the Giants aren't going to want to leave Bochy with nothing in his last year. So we'll see how that goes. Recently on sports radio, Jerry Callahan was summarily dismissed from WEEI. Some people think it has to do with the political and non-sports nature of the show, and other people just think that they didn't do well in ratings. Sports Hub just has outperformed them in ratings, and Callahan and Minahan apparently have dropped down for whatever reason.
Well, when it was Minahan and Callahan, they were number one. They were number one in both markets from morning to night. I think they were even beating out Felger and Maserati. But once Minahan left, they went down to 6 point something, which isn't bad, but it's all political. It's 100% political.
Yeah.
They pressured, don't forget who owns the Red Sox and who owns the Globe. Henry couldn't stand Callahan because Callahan was knocking the Globe every 2 seconds, and Callahan's a strong conservative, and everybody else is a liberal. They were getting pressure, and that's what happened. Callahan loses his job because he was a conservative, and the liberals didn't like him because he spoke up.
Well, I listen to NPR in the morning, not sports radio. So
but that's what it's all about. The liberals can talk, and I'm a liberal, but the way things are nowadays, but the liberals can say whatever they want and not get in trouble. You're conservative in Massachusetts, New Jersey, New York, California, forget about it. So that's the way it goes.
If you're feeling sorry for NFL owners, don't feel sorry for NFL owners. The Patriots took in $593 million in 2017, and they should have plenty of room for profit underneath that. The television revenues right now are $255 million per team per season. So if you can't make money in the NFL now, you're really a terrible businessman.
It's unbelievable. And look at the players, though. Just think of the football players. They're looking at the basketball players. They're looking at the baseball players. The basketball players, the stars can play on any team they want. And, look at George. He signs a big contract with Oklahoma City and then tells them that he wants to go to the Clippers, make the trade. But I think it was the best thing that happened to Oklahoma City, because I think they have a very good future now. They weren't going to win with Westbrook and George, because Westbrook, you just can't win with him. Controls the ball too much, can't shoot big games. He's not a good outside shooter.
Well, it should be interesting with Westbrook and Harden in Houston. You might as well only have 2 players on the court.
Who's going to want to play with them? Unless you're a role player that rebounds and doesn't care about touching the ball. It's unbelievable with those two. Forget about it.
It's pretty hard to get paid if you don't get to touch the ball at least occasionally. But we'll see how that goes. As for Jeremy Lin has had his moment in the sun with Linsanity when he was on the Knicks. He's had a career where he's taken in $51 million and won a championship this year with Toronto, and now he's feeling like he's being shut out of the league. Now, to me, that just means he's not going to take the role and the money that's available to a guy who's going to be a role player. I mean, he's not a star player.
No.
I think he was still at the end of a $5 million a year contract from initially from the Nets money, and he seems like he should be pretty happy overall how his career turned out.
And he was starring there for a couple of years. He was very good. Then all of a sudden he's a bench player. How many years does he have left?
I don't know what his contract situation is now. So, I don't really feel bad for him in the sense that
No.
he doesn't have to worry where his next meal is coming from, and he is a Harvard graduate, so I hope there's some future for him in the world. But he's not a star player, and the money's out there for star players, and I mean,
And guys that think they're stars, like Rozier, $19 million a year. I mean, what a contract he got.
Yeah, there's talk about should USA Basketball be trying to recruit Carmelo Anthony, and I'm saying for what?
Are
Because
they nuts?
you have to have, no matter who you are, you have to be able to accept the role that you have. And Anthony could probably still play in the NBA if he'd take 12, 15 minutes. You're going to get, 6 or 8 shots and have limited role come in off the bench in certain situations. But you don't want to do that. So,
Yeah,
again,
but if you're a good team, Ron, you're not going to want him on your team. And then if you're not a good team, why would you want him anyway?
Well, I think that if he thinks that he's still a star player, which he's clearly not a star player at this point, he can't accept a role. And it's so important really at every level to be able to accept the role that you have. And if you want a bigger role, you better increase your skill level and your contribution level to be able to fulfill your imagined role.
Yeah, he's a $5 million a year player now.
Which is not so bad.
No, I mean,
A little bit unusual. Le'Veon Bell came out today and he apologized, but he didn't apologize to the Steeler fans, or he didn't apologize to any of his individual fans. He apologized to fantasy owners that had him, and they didn't get any statistics in these continuation leagues in fantasy football. You get to keep players the following season, and he just sat out. So it seemed like a pretty strange apology to me, but I don't play fantasy.
he'll help the Jets, though.
Yeah, he'll be okay.
He'll be a real good addition, a veteran who understands how to run the ball. I mean, I don't know many ball control players who think the way he does. He hesitates. He waits for the block. He understands. Teams that are very aggressive, I would think, would cause him problems, but especially playing for the Jets. But he's probably the smartest running back.
No,
in
he's
football.
brilliant. He's incredibly patient and does wait for those holes, and then he bursts through. And he's really been a top running back. We'll see how it goes for the Jets. They may be behind a lot this year and have to throw the ball. So we'll see how. I mean, the advantage the Patriots have obviously is they have Tom Brady, who's the best quarterback in the division. So once again, Patriots are prohibitive favorites to win the division, although not everybody thinks they're the Super Bowl favorites. Some people still have the Rams and the Chiefs over them. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's some people, though. But the people, the odds are the Patriots are rated number 1. The odds to win the Super Bowl. If you're a gambler, if someone says, here's $1,000, pick the team, the NFL team you think is going to win the Super Bowl. Well, I'd put it on the Patriots. I'm not going to put it on the LA Rams the way they played. And the Patriots in the first half were inside their 50-yard line 5 times and only scored 3 points. And a couple of mishaps in those drives. They could have blown out the LA Rams. They're much better than LA. They're better than Kansas City. They beat them twice last year. Second time in Kansas City. They lost Gronk. To me, Gronk was their presence more than Brady. You look over at the sideline, you see Gronk standing there, great blocker, made big catches, but I'd still have to put. I mean, I would ask anybody, what would you do? Who would you bet? You get $1,000. Who would you bet?
Well, people can talk as much as they want about Deflategate and so forth, but really the big news in the off season, as far as what the NFL's approach is not punishing Tyreek Hill at all, because obviously they want him to be on the Chiefs. They want the Chiefs to be contending to go to the Super Bowl, and not having him for 6 weeks probably would have put a big dent in the Chiefs' offense. So we'll see how that goes, and whether there's, what you never know with the NFL. Could be 2 days before the season starts and somebody drops a dime, has some other audio tape or videotape of Hill.
Right. I mean, what are they thinking? How could he not get suspended, and Gordon, for taking marijuana and having mental health problems, get suspended? I mean, just look at the difference. I mean, he smoked marijuana, right? He has a problem. He has mental health problems. He's being treated. The Patriots love the guy. He got suspended last year, which was a good suspension because he was having the mental health problems. But that guy shouldn't be sitting out. You got Hill playing and you got Gordon sitting out. A guy that really needs counseling. Gordon, who did he ever hurt? He never hurt anybody.
Well, it's, some people think Roger Goodell is the village idiot, but as long as the NFL is, projected to make $15 billion in revenue, I don't think the owners are going to lose any sleep over Goodell's disciplinary actions. You never know what's going to happen. Already in Miami, big things are happening. Brian Flores went there as coach, and their offensive lineman coach is out after a week, and who's back in but Dave DeGuglielmo, who really had a pretty undistinguished time as the Patriots offensive line coach. Now, whether that's personnel related, but the Patriots clearly had a down time when he was around, and then did much better when Scarnecchia came back.
They did win a Super Bowl with him, though. They won a Super Bowl with him, and then the second year they didn't, and that's when Philadelphia was. No, it wasn't Philadelphia. Was it Philly?
I'm not sure. In the star quarterback jumps off cliff with daughter story, Tom Brady apparently was in Costa Rica and kind of dragged Vivian off the cliff into the deep end of the pool. How high was that?
Was it about 10 feet?
Yeah, I would have guessed 10 feet.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, it's high enough that poor little Vivian's, she's probably 3 feet tall.
She could swim though, huh? You see her swim right to him?
No, I didn't see that part. Well, I'm sure that.
You see when they hit?
No.
Oh, you didn't see it?
No.
So you didn't see when he jumped?
I saw him jump and kind of pull her off.
Yeah, she's standing there. She hesitated at the end, but he had to pull her. Because
yeah, right. You don't want her to fall on the rocks. She could have fallen.
So he pulled her, and she goes down with her front first, hits the water, but then they separated. He had a hand, and then they separated when they hit the water, and she just swam right over to him like it was nothing, and put her arms around her. But you got to think now, I mean, I look at it and say, well, she's going to be mentally tougher now, because she did it. But if she ever got hurt, oh, God. Well, they would have suspended him for the year.
There you go. There you go. Maybe that's the NFL's answer. Jumpgate.
I mean, everybody was on it, but then a lot of people said, hey, it's going to toughen her up. And, it wasn't as far as people think it was, the way they had it.
I want to say a little bit about a cognitive bias called fundamental attribution error, which sounds really confusing, but what it really is we tend to judge other people's actions or behavior by assigning a character value to that, whereas we assign what we do as intent. So if you're a Celtic fan, you might say, oh, Kyrie Irving's no good, and he deserted his teammates. He wasn't there for the team in the playoffs when they needed him, and he jumped ship. And if you're a Kyrie fan, you say, Kyrie's just doing what's in the best interest of his long-term career, and he wants
himself.
And he wants to be in the entertainment industry, with videos and movies, and going to New York was the best choice for him. So both people could be right, but it's about trying to apply judgment to things that we really can't know.
I don't mind that. We're both big Celtic fans. I don't mind Kyrie leaving. What I mind is the way they treated him. They let him do whatever he wanted to. The thing that really ticked me off is when he played in that All-Star game. Plays in the All-Star game after being injured and sitting out games with the Celtics. And then he goes and plays in the All-Star game. Then what the Celtics should have did is they should have said to him, you play in the All-Star game, you're suspended for 5 games. You've been out 2 or 3 games, right? And now you're going to go play. We want you resting. If he says what she would have said, forget about it, I'm going to do what I want. Okay, we're going to do what we want. You're suspended for 5 games.
Well, there's always a certain coddling element that happens because we all know that all stars are not treated the same. Probably the most upfront, accountable guy that I can think of is Sale. I mean, he pitches terribly, comes out and says, I was a disgrace. I can't believe how badly I pitched and I didn't give my team a chance to win. Must be the only guy in Major League Baseball who comes out and says that. And if he wins, he just says, I'm glad I was able to help my team and I pitched okay today.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Kyrie's not a good guy. Kyrie just cares about himself. He should have never played in that game. Ainge and Stevens, you know how I feel about him. He's got to change because he coached like a college coach last year. Instead of taking charge, let the guys do whatever they want. Let Kyrie do and say whatever he wanted to. Always backed them up.
I think the problem was you just had an incredible chemistry problem between certain veterans, especially Kyrie, and I don't know where Horford stood in this. He didn't really say much, so maybe he was on Kyrie's side. And then you had the younger guys, Tatum, Brown, and Rozier, who, because they had led the team during the previous playoffs, they thought they deserved a role in the minutes, and they believed that Hayward was teacher's pet and was getting playing time that he hadn't earned or deserved. And yet, you've got this guy, you're trying to get him back into shape. You can't do that off the bench. So it was just a marriage that was destined to fail. We'll be right back. Welcome back. As the trade deadline approaches, Red Sox fans don't have a lot to look forward to because they're very close to the salary cap luxury super threshold. And although I did hear a rumor today that they were trying to trade Chavis and something else for Edwin Diaz, the reliever. I still think that the salaries don't match at all, so I don't know what the other part of the deal would be. It would probably have to be somebody like Bradley.
Yeah, but Diaz's earning average is 4.9 or something.
Well,
and they're saying he needs a change. He was real good for Seattle, but I wouldn't make that move.
It's funny with relief pitchers. They have their time in the sun, like Brazier last year, and then this year wasn't really happening for him. This year, Workman's done really well. Waldman's done pretty well. But, if you said, well, I'm sure for the next 2 or 3 years that Workman and Waldman would be big contributors to somebody's bullpen, most people would say, based on what?
If I was them, I would stay the way they are. I wouldn't give up a young talent now. I mean, like you said, Workman's been good in the bullpen. Evaldi, let's see what happens with him. I mean, we were talking a couple days ago after the Red Sox beat the Yanks 3 in a row. Well, they beat them twice, and they were ready to play the third game. And I said, I'm a big Yankee fan, but if I had a bet, if someone says here's $500, who would you bet that makes it further, the Yankees or Red Sox? I'd say the Red Sox. The Red Sox have the starting pitching. Yankee starting pitching is weak. The Yankees bullpen is not as strong as people think they are right now. They're getting tired. If you watch, they're struggling big time, the bullpen.
Well, although obviously our discussion tends to be focused on the Red Sox and the Yankees, the Astros are better than both of them.
If they're healthy.
Yeah.
If they're healthy, and they're getting healthy, so.
So Springer's been really good lately. Altuve's really good, and they got Verlander and Garrett Cole. So they got two frontline starters that are right on top of their game. I mean, as you say, baseball's 10 seasons inside the season, so that there's still a lot of time. The Yankees are going to win the AL East. I don't know what Tampa Bay made a move. I don't know who'd they do. They got the guy Sogard from Toronto.
Yeah, but I think it's going to be, it's going to be either Cleveland or Minnesota will probably be the first wild card team if the Red Sox don't take off. And I think the Red Sox will be the second team. Oakland's in the battle too. I don't think Tampa will get there now with Snell out.
No, probably not.
So Tampa Bay, you can forget about them. So it's going to be, again, whoever wins the Central League, either Cleveland or Minnesota will be, I think, the lead wild card team.
Obviously the return of Betts to the top of the lineup, which is pretty incredible. He's on a pace to score over 140 runs, which hasn't been done for a long time. And
Devers too.
And of course, the reason he's scoring so much is if you get on base, Devers is driving him in. Devers had an incredible month. I think he had 30, almost 30 or maybe 30 RBIs this month. And I don't think I've seen a guy hit the ball as consistently hard as he has. I don't think you can compare guys like Carew and Boggs because they got hits, but they didn't hit the ball as hard as he did.
How do you have the Red Sox have the best 1 to 5 batting order in baseball, even better than the Yankees, the 1 to 5. It's especially with Benintendi hitting well now, batting fifth. I mean, you wonder why Devers and Bogarts are the two top hitters on that team now. It's funny the way, Martinez is still having a good year, and Betts is starting to hit. Benintendi's starting to hit. They're going to score runs the rest of the year, and if Price doesn't get injured, with that.
Well, you hear about all these guys, J.D. Martinez, Bradley, Vasquez, going to all these hitting gurus to get more lift in their swing. You don't hear anything about Bogarts. They just gave him money and he hit better. One of the few players who got paid and then produced. Now, okay, it's only the first year, but Bogarts looks like a totally different player out there. He's looking to drive the ball.
I think what's really important is your approach as a hitter, how you approach from when you get in that batter's box. And we were watching the game, and I said, watch Betts. It's almost like a shooter who has that beautiful touch. He comes from the same spot every time. So watch Betts swing. He just coils properly, comes straight through. Bogart's probably been watching him. Martinez the same. And you watch someone like Judge, who I love, but he's not as good as them. He rolls his swing. His bat's pointing this way. He's looking out, and he's got a long swing. Where the other hitters just come straight through the ball, quick hands, can handle any pitch. And you have that, and I just look at them, and they have to be consistent, just the way they approach it.
Well, it's interesting, when I'm watching the games, the guy I want to see hit every time up is Devers.
Oh.
I mean, he's just, for people who've been in Melrose a long time, there was a player in Melrose as a high school young player, terrific hitter, John Greeley. It was just like that, as he hit line drives every time up, as well as a terrific defensive player. But Devers grew up in the Dominican. Obviously, he learned how to play baseball using a broomstick and hitting a bottle cap. So maybe for him, the baseball looks as big as a softball because he's so used to the bottle caps.
But you look at Devers right now. Who would you take over him right now? Who in baseball would you say is a better hitter than him?
Well, maybe Trout, but
that's about it.
Yeah. I mean, he just looks so dangerous, right-handed, left-handed, curveballs, fastballs, it doesn't matter.
He has an eye. His hand-eye coordination is unbelievable. I watch him swing at those fastballs. He just stays there calm, and his wrists, his hands, I mean, they're so quick to the ball, and everything is on the button. Everything. I mean, you got to say 2/3 of the time he's hitting the ball hard. Yesterday he hit a shot at Torres. Torres didn't even want to get in front of it, and they called it an error. It went off his glove.
Yeah, I know. I was saying that somebody else, maybe it was Bogarts who got an infield single, and they gave him a single. Wasn't hit nearly as hard. I thought that after the no-hitter was broken, that they would change the scoring on the play. Now,
it should have been a hit.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to the announcing. On Sunday Night Baseball, a lot of people weren't really in love with A-Rod as a player, but I think he does a really good job as an announcer. Sometimes he's repetitive. But
wouldn't it be good if Schilling was there with him? Instead of what's her name, who doesn't even know what she's saying half the time.
Well, I think Jessica Mendoza is okay.
She's okay. She's saying stuff we all know. Schilling used to say stuff, hey, wow, I never thought of that. Schilling, he pitched. He was one of the best pitchers in baseball. He knew the game.
Well, it's interesting that a guy like Herman, he recognized that he's a curveball first pitcher, but he has a good enough fastball, 94, 95, that he can pitch off the curveball.
Last year, remember I told you before the season started when Severino, I don't know if you remember, said Severino went down, they're going to be hurt, and I says, well, they got Herman. Last year he was inconsistent. He was throwing 97, 98 last year, fastball. He had that good, quick curveball. But I really liked him last year. I said, he's the type of pitcher in 1 year, he's going to be a star. You could just see that.
Yeah, if you have a good enough breaking ball, then you can get away with a little bit less on your fastball. You look at Workman as an example. When he's high, he's up 93, 94 on the fastball, but he's got he'll throw the curveball any time. Charlie Morton, throw the curveball any time. Another curveball first type pitcher. Growing up, there were a lot of curveball type pitchers, Bert Blyleven, Camilo Pascual, Dave Moorhead for the Red Sox. Not everybody came out of certainly not everybody came out of the bullpen throwing 95 or higher. Nowadays, if a guy can't throw 95 coming out of the bullpen unless he's a left-hander, he's probably not even going to make the team.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, it was a very interesting series. I thought the Yankees, showed some resilience yesterday, coming back, and the Red Sox kind of lost concentration. Bradley threw the ball to the first base coach, and they didn't play a great game. But sometimes the other team puts pressure on you, so you don't play your best.
It was a bad color, man. Is the catcher who used to play for the Red Sox and then went with the Cubs. What's his name? He does the games on ESPN, on one of those stations.
David Ross.
Yeah, Ross. I'm watching the Yankee game. He totally blew it. He's talking to the other guy. He's not explaining the game. He's supposed to be the color man. He's supposed to be talking about what's happening. The Yanks have first and second, no outs. There's a fly ball to center field. And they tag up from second, right? So the center fielder throws the ball to third. Well,
it's not cut off.
Well, the guy on first for the Yankees, Torres, played it smart. He tagged up too because he knew the guy was going. It was fairly deep center. So the throw goes to third, and I'm saying, well, if Torres is, they don't tell us anything because Ross is talking about something stupid during the play. So the throw goes to third. So I'm saying to Mark, I says, well, hopefully Torres played it right. He went back to first. On the catch, he goes halfway. He watches where the throw's going. If it's going in the second, he backs up and goes back to first. If it's going to third, he goes to second. Well, the throw went to third. They both tagged up. He saw the throw go, and he takes. Ross never mentions it. Never mentions that it's a bad mistake by the center fielder. Never mentioned that Torres made a real good play on that. And then right after that, I'm trying to think of what happened after that. Something happened on that where he should have explained to fans that watch the game. They're talking about something stupid. They're not even talking about the game. And I'm saying, this guy's a color man. He's supposed to explain what's going on out there to the average fan, and maybe a fan would say, if he explained it, well, hey, that's right, and learn something. Instead, he's over there joking around with the announcer. Twice it happened in a row.
Well, I think obviously the Red Sox have three players in two positions right now with Moreland, Brock Holt, and Chavis. Now,
I wouldn't get rid of Chavis.
No,
I wouldn't make that move.
Chavis is maybe a 250 hitter who has potential to be a 30
How old is he, Ron? Is he old?
I think he's 23.
Jeez, I would
So-
never give up on that guy.
So the one thing that you'll notice if you watch the Red Sox and the Yankees, everybody swings hard. Didi Gregorius is swinging hard. Voigt's swinging really hard. Hey, you never know. If you might hit it. And
Holt's playing good.
no, Holt's been good. Obviously, they think they have something in Moreland, who had a good beginning of the year, but then got hurt. So Chavis can't get the high fastball. If he can make you bring it down, or if he's looking for a curveball, he's one of the better young curveball hitters I've seen in a long time.
I mean, you got a guy like him. He's 23 years old. In 2 years, he could be a star. He's got the power. He drives the ball. He's very good defensively.
Right. You get a guy like Edwin Diaz, it's no guarantee that you're winning the World Series, and you're giving up a lot of your future potentially.
I wouldn't make a deal. I would go with the bullpen now. Hopefully Evaldi can be a closer. You have Workman. You got some pretty good pitchers in the bullpen. And I'm telling you, the Yankees bullpen isn't much better. I've been watching their games. They're struggling. Chapman's been terrible. Britton's been horrible.
What's the word on Betances?
Well, Betances is supposed to be back in August. Severino's supposed to be back in September. But they said Severino's not going to be ready to go 8 or 9 innings, but no one is nowadays. I mean, look at the Red Sox who was pitching really, Seal. 9 pitches in the first inning, 12 or 13 in the second inning, and he was up to 100 in the sixth inning. I mean, that's amazing. These teams are fouling off pitches left and right. Red Sox fouled off 20-something pitches on Herman yesterday.
Yeah, obviously the consequence for the fan is if you're at home, you can get up, turn it off, change the channel, come back. If you're at the game, I mean, a Red Sox-Yankee game is 3.5 hours automatic.
The only problem the Red Sox have right now, their starting pitching is good, but their depth isn't good. They don't have anybody in the minors who's going to be coming up. So they're going to have to get a starting pitcher, especially if they let Porcello go. Mm-hmm. If he goes next year, they're going to save all that money, $20 million, right?
Right.
$20 million.
Well, I think that
and maybe get a relief pitcher.
I think that Pablo Sandoval's contract comes off the books too, which is another $18 million. Bradley, at this point, he'll probably get paid $10 million, right? I mean, he's a solid defensive player, last night notwithstanding, but offensively,
Who do they have in the minors? Do they have any good minor league players up there?
No, nobody who's
I
ready.
hear they have a good third baseman in the minors.
I mean, they could, if Martinez stays, and right now, if somebody said, well, if he opted out, are you going to pay him more than $22 million? Is he worth $25 million, $28 million? I don't know. What's the situation on Yankee injured players coming back?
Well, it's funny the way they do it. Sanchez went into a slump, and they said, let's give him a rest. So they put him on.
What about Stanton?
Stanton, they're not sure if he's even going to come back. I hope he doesn't. He's just going to ruin the team, Stanton. He'll hit a home run and strike out 5 times. I'd rather. I mean, they have too many guys like him now.
You're not a big Stanton guy.
No, I'm not a big, especially after last year in the playoffs when he was terrible. You can't have Stanton and Judge batting next to, 2 and 3, because they strike out too much.
Right. I think that one of the points about the Red Sox and the Astros is they make a lot of contact. At least they have over the last few years. So Betts still has more walks than strikeouts. Moreland right now isn't making that much contact.
No, he's been injured though.
And he's got some running issue because he's really slow right now.
But Gardner's been out too.
Right.
So
yeah, Gardner's been.
He was playing. He was coming up with some big hits for them.
Give me your analysis on Aaron Judge.
To me, his stance has to change. He loops his swing. He takes too long turning on fastballs, and he hits a lot to right field. Sometimes he intentionally does in Yankee Stadium, but he doesn't have that smooth swing if you watch him. He loops. It's coming from too far away. The bat's pointed over here, and he's coming here. Instead of like Betts is just coming straight through, and you know Betts is going to hit the ball. Judge, there's times where he just struggles. He was hitting .311 before the Red Sox series, but don't forget he missed a lot of the year. So He went down to 280 something.
So as of today, who would be your finalists in the ALCS?
I would say if I had money to bet, I would say probably it'd be Houston and the Red Sox in the finals. And Houston, I don't know, if the Red Sox make it there, and if Seal's not that far away from being really good.
Yeah, the big
He's
difference.
striking out a lot.
Yeah, the big difference between Sale when he's good and he's bad is his slider breaks down when he's good, and it just breaks across when he's bad.
I mean, I've been wrong, before, but again, if someone gave me money and says bet on one of the teams, probably the Red Sox.
Well, the problem for the Yankees right now is their starters aren't going long enough, and then their bullpen's going to get worn out, just like the Red Sox bullpen was.
I'm starting to think of the
half.
Yankees like I thought of them last year. I'm starting to get aggravated with the bullpen is struggling. People don't realize it. Everybody says the Yankees have the best bullpen. Britton can't get the ball over the plate. He's the setup man in the 8th inning. Chapman has been terrible.
Maybe they'll switch Ottavino for.
Ottavino should be the 8th.
Yeah,
He should be the setup.
That's what I would do.
And then when Betances comes back, you got to think Betances and Severino come back. Their arms are going to be live.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they haven't pitched. So if they get back and if they get over the injury, then they could be a big help. I mean, I think Hermain with Severino could be a good 1 and 2.
There you have it. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm here with player manager Ralph LaBella of the Haverhill Court System, and he's trying to take the equivalent of Major League into the playoffs against the Haverhill Police Department. So what have you learned coaching old guys, Ralph?
We've been practicing, and I found out when you get to a certain age, you can't track fly balls anymore. You can't move as quick as you used to on grounders. You can still hit okay. You
just can't run.
Well, so don't go in the out. When you get to a certain age, which is, say, in the 60s, don't go in the outfield and try to track down fly balls. Because you're not.
You have to start wearing
Ground balls are fine.
you're gonna have to start wearing a helmet like John Olerud.
But the funny thing is, again, for the people are in their 60s. I could do it when I was in my 50s. I was pitching when I was in my 50s for the 35 and over league. But when you get to a certain age, you can still handle ground balls, fine. But tracking with your footwork's not the same, and trying to track down fly balls, forget about it.
Wow.
But it's fun. We're playing the Haverhill PD in a fundraiser in a couple of weeks, and we've been practicing. We have everybody in that courthouse has been coming to practice. 90% of them. We have 8 girls that have been coming to practice. 4 of them have never played before, but they've come to practice, and they're getting better and better. But they're enjoying the whole competition
Well, it's
thing.
like the old joke. There's going to be a World Series between heaven and hell. You know that joke.
Yeah.
And obviously, heaven's full of Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Ted Williams. Incredible pitchers from the Christy Mathewson, and Satan says, it doesn't matter. We're going to win. We're going to win. So.
But the fundraising's going good.
So. John McGraw says, how can you possibly win? And Satan says, we have all the umpires down here. So anyway, we'll talk a little about the NFL, and then the number one worry for me isn't tight end right now for the Patriots is it's the thumb injury that Julian Edelman has. And I think they put him on the non-football injury list, which I don't know what that means. Did he injure his thumb?
Yeah, he's out for 3 weeks.
Playing golf or what?
No.
So,
Catching passes, I think. I don't know. He broke it, right?
Yeah, he broke. That's what people are saying.
But they said he's out for about 3 weeks. He won't be able to catch passes. That's all right. Let the other guys work. Harris. I think Harris is going to be the biggest surprise.
Well, that's what they're talking about. Belichick says a receiver has 2 jobs: get open, catch the ball, and so far Harris has been able to do that. Honey Nut Berrios hasn't been doing anything, they're saying. And, I guess N'Keal Harry's been pretty good.
He's going to be real good. He's 6'4". Harris is 6'2". I didn't know that. He's almost 6'3". He's got the big receivers. There's another receiver who's tall. And They'll be all right. They
Well,
get the running backs.
I mean, there's some talk or feeling that they'll get Gordon back before the regular season.
Yeah, I think they think that, the suspension's not going to go on too long. I think that's what I hear too. They'll get him back.
So we'll see about that. Now, one issue for the Patriots is obviously left tackle, is whether Isaiah Wynn is ready to go, how long it's going to take to get him back in shape. Obviously, if he's practicing, he had to pass the conditioning test, but that's different from being a left tackle in the NFL. Greg Bedard of Boston Sports Journal seems to think really highly of a player named Dan Skipper, who has been taking most of the reps at left tackle right now.
Do you know where he's from?
No, I don't know where he's from.
But Tooney's been also taking reps from
I know, but I don't think they want. It's bad enough that Tooney's in his contract year, but if he were in his contract year as a left tackle, then it's even bigger money.
And Karras is waiting to take someone's job too. You got Karras as a backup all over.
Well, I think that they're looking to. I can't say the guy's name. Froholt Hader, that guy that they drafted. A lot of people think he reminds them of what was his name? Cowboy, left guard, Logan Mankins. So, we'll see. It's an embarrassment of riches at times for the Patriots on the offensive line. So, we'll see. Now, question is whether Damian Harris will work his way into a starting position. They say that he's a really hard runner between the tackles, and he's way better in the passing game.
He's not going to be a surprise because everybody knows him. Everybody watched Alabama play.
And he didn't have a million carries at Alabama, so he's not totally burned out.
Number 6 did. But Harris, tough runner inside, tough inside runner. I mean, they're going to have a good running game, very good running game. Then Brady can do the play action. And you know what I was thinking about? Whoever the tight end is, they're not going to game plan for the tight end. So you're going to be able to see that. You're going to see the tight end open a lot because of that.
Well, they're saying good things about Matt LaCoste, the guy they got from Denver. So they say he's smaller than Gronk. He's like 6'6", 250, but he's not that much smaller than Gronk. So he's sort of like not as good as everything as Gronk, but same type of player. So I'm not going to say Gronk light. That would be ridiculous. But maybe he can do something.
Yeah, and like I said, in the past they've used another offensive lineman as a tight end.
Well, and they're going to have to do load management because for the first 4 weeks they obviously don't have Watson because he's on suspension. And
I don't know how good Watson's going to be, though. Brilliant guy. Real nice guy.
Yeah, he's
going to be a politician someday.
He scored a 45 on the Wonderlic test, which is I think it's a 12-minute test, 50 questions. And he had one of the highest scores ever. I think Pat McInally, the punter from Harvard, was one of the few guys who ever got a 50.
He's going to be a senator someday, I'm telling you. I wouldn't be surprised if he runs for president. Did you ever hear him speak politics?
Yeah,
the guy's absolutely brilliant, smart, well-spoken. I guarantee when he's done with football, he's definitely going to run for office.
Okay. There's some talk that NFL teams are working to take advantage of the pass interference change they're working to develop plays where pass interference is more likely. I'm not sure what those are. I can think of an obvious one would be, imagine you send James White on a wheel route against a linebacker, guy's going to grab him to keep him from getting open. But I don't know what other curl routes or whatever that they think people are going to get called for.
Yeah, I think they should just have one appeal on a play like what happened to New Orleans. You have one a game that you can ask for a review and that type of, in regard to penalties. And that should be it. I mean, don't make it, it's going to be a joke. I don't like to change. But I think one appeal a game would be fine.
Although he hasn't had a lot of appearances so far, they're very high on Michael Bennett. They said he just came in cold. Apparently, you don't have to be in pads the first couple of days you show up, and he said, no, I like playing football. He went into pads and just totally dominated.
Well, did you read the article today about him? Real good article in the paper about how he really likes Belichick. He says he treats you like a man. He says the 3 days I missed because of personal reasons, I called him. I was a little worried about it. And he says, hey, your family comes first. Do what you have to do. And he goes, I'll do anything now for, whatever he asks me to do. He goes, because, you want to be treated like a man. And he really came through for me. Never says, well, do this, do that. Says, handle what you have to handle. And he goes, that made me, really want to work hard for the Patriots. And it was kind of nice. The article was really good.
Well, there's a wealth of literature about Belichick. And, most of the time the veteran players do okay. The players who don't want to work hard are the players that have trouble.
Right.
If you
or
come,
even some of the veterans from other teams sometimes.
Yeah, who was the guy from
Indianapolis?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Yeah, he just came here and he practiced for maybe a week. I don't know if it was a whole week, and he said, no, this isn't for me. But, Patriots obviously have a different approach. They're all about winning. And one of the quotes from Mike Lombardi about Belichick is, we're not here to develop backups.
How about what Tatum said about them? He was at their practice with Stevens. So he was at the practice, I don't know if it was yesterday. He goes, wow, do they work hard. He goes, I'm watching them, and I say, well, he talked to Gilmore. Gilmore's a big basketball fan.
Okay.
So he talked to Tatum after the practice, and Tatum told him, and Gilmore's, he knows that Gilmore goes to a lot of the Celtic games. A couple of other guys on the team, too. But he really said that. He was really impressed with the way they worked. He goes, football players work hard.
Well, of course, they're not only working hard, they're working hard in all kinds of conditions. Belichick's famous for, if the weather's good, he takes footballs and dunks them in a bucket of water, so you're playing with a wet ball on a sunny day.
But no, what I don't understand, the owners are making billions and billions of dollars, right? Why aren't these guys making more money? Some of these guys are making like $800 and something thousand. Every practice, every game.
Well, that was going to come up. As far as the Patriots, as far as real dollars spent over an extended period of time, 5 or 6 years, are near the bottom of the league. They're always going to cheap out whenever they can. And if you said, who's on the cheap out bubble right now, Duron Harmon has got, I think they can save something like $3.7 million if they cut him. Nate Ebner, they can save a couple million if they cut him. And as long as you're above the minimum threshold that you have to pay, that just goes into the owner's pockets. So that if the Patriots don't spend up to the salary cap.
But aren't they right there now? Weren't they right there?
They're right at a little under $5 million right now. But usually they end up $10 million under. So,
That's probably a deal Kraft made with Belichick.
And they have a much smaller coaching staff usually than other teams, so that they're not paying all those coaches.
But you know what else? What about the former players, the players that are retired?
Yeah,
what are they getting? They have a pension, but it comes in effect after
55, I think. But in the past, the average life expectancy of an NFL lineman was in the mid-50s. So,
I think they should have a kitty for. Look at basketball players are making up to $50 million now a year, 40-something million. You'd think they'd have something where a small percentage, maybe 1% of your money goes to in a kitty for the former players that are hurting. And the same thing, especially with football. I don't know if they're taking care of them or what.
Well, so many of these guys have mental and physical problems from playing the game a long time.
And how are they living, some of them? If they're not living well, then
probably not very well.
These players who are making big money, why aren't they putting into a little kitty there?
Well, very few people want to sign on for, quote, socialism, and that's how that would be viewed. We'll talk a little bit about basketball. Not big interest in playing for the U.S. team for the FIBA World Cup. The Celtics have a bunch of guys who are trying out. Kemba Walker may be the best player on the team. Marcus Smart is one of the 20, I think, who are working out.
Yeah, Tatum and Brown.
Yeah, so that, nobody's going to say that Tatum and Brown are the top 20 players in the NFL,
one of the
NBA.
workouts.
I don't even know. I don't know. So we'll see how that goes. And then I was thinking about, one of the issues in developing players is developing players to do hard things. And to me, one of the hardest things to do as an individual basketball player right now is to contain the ball, because there's so many skilled athletic ball handlers right now. I'd say more so than we were kids, as far as the kids are more athletic. So you have to develop, for every better mouse, you need to develop a better mousetrap. And part of that is now scheme, as defenses like pack line defense are brought in to provide help, sort of the soft man that you used to teach, so that people don't get direct drives. Because there's so many. I mean, how do you handle Harden or Westbrook one-on-one? You really can't. They're just going to go by you, and then you've got to rotate over and open up perimeter shots if the guys are willing to pass.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you're seeing now in basketball. I mean, I was even watching films of Walker driving to the basket. Like you said, one-on-one, you can't stop them.
Mm-hmm.
You need help. You need someone to drop down, take away the lanes. But that's the way it is nowadays. And you look at the Celtics rookies. They were penetrating in the summer league.
Well, I was down one of the playgrounds shooting the ball last Tuesday, and I was watching some, I'm not sure if they were middle school or high school boys playing, and it was pretty much dribble, 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 shoot, miss, dribble, 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 shoot, miss. There was no passing, there was no cutting, there was no defense. So we had this discussion on it's a private national coaches board, and people said that isn't an unusual experience. That's how the game is played around the country and around the world in many places. It's just dribble and shoot. Nobody wants to pass, and nobody wants to play a team sport as a team anymore.
And they don't want to see the floor either. I mean, I was trying to work with some of our girls this summer. There's certain steps they have to make. And, they're dribbling, a lot of people dribbling. They're not looking to make that nice pass. I remember when we played, my thing is when I played point, I always wanted to pass to someone. When I penetrated, I always looked for people open. And I was trying to tell a couple of the girls this summer, you're getting into the lane, you're doing fine, but you got to see the floor too as you're doing it. But it's experiences they have to go through.
Well, you make a great pass, and you make yourself happy, you make the scorer happy, and you make the coach really happy. So I agree with you, and I was a shooting guard. Making a really terrific pass is one of the great thrills you can get from the game. The other thing is a lot of combined actions, and a great offense is multiple actions: pick and roll, screen the screener, screen the roller, staggered screens. If you don't do any of that stuff, you're really not going to get the same kind of quality shots as if you do.
Well, my feeling is about the biggest problem in youth sports is zone defenses. These coaches, you're learning absolutely nothing. I went to watch my son-in-law's niece play a game in Medford. She's 6th or 7th grade. I went to the game, and the team they're playing against is playing a zone. I stood there and watched the game. I said, what a disgrace this is. I come to watch her play. You can't get in the lane against the zone. You're going to move. In that age, they don't know how to shoot.
We were at the Malden Thanksgiving tournament. I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. The other team plays a 2-3 zone the whole game. We're up by 8 with 3 minutes to go, and I just told the kids, hold it out. And the other coaches screaming at me, saying like, why, you won't come in and play against us? No, come out of the zone. If you want,
That's a smart move. I did that a couple of times, and they get mad. I said, well, come out of your zone then.
Exactly. Now, the other thing is the emphasis is overemphasis on winning. And to develop players, they have to go through experiences, as you say, and do things that they're uncomfortable at to become better. And no child should get sacrificed on the altar of winning. Now, I'm not going to name names, but in the league we played in, you'll see a bunch of teams that only have 8 players because they want to have all good players on the team. They don't want to have kids that are struggling. I don't believe that any of these communities can't get more kids to try out. So it's really about winning with short rosters rather than trying to develop more kids, because you never know when a younger player might turn out to be a really good player if they're given an opportunity.
Yeah, you look at the summer league we played in. Every game we had 13 players just about. At every game. We never had less than 10. Team we played in the championship of our little bracket, Arlington, they had 4 players. So they win their first game, and we win our first game. So the head coach of Woburn comes over, who runs the league. He goes, "You're playing Arlington." I says, "Yeah, but they have 4 players. Why are we playing Arlington? We should be playing Burlington, who Arlington beat. It was 4-4. He goes, "No, it's because Arlington won." I said, "Yeah, but they have 4 players. I don't want to play a team with 4 players." And he goes, "Well, if you want to play 5 against 4, you can do it." So I'm not going to play 5 against 4. So we had to play 4 against 4. That means one of our players isn't playing. You know, the girls have to sit up. We had 12 or 13 players at the game. And I'm saying, how are they not getting at least 7 players?
Well, in the summer, the most important thing is developing more skills, teaching players how to see the game, making better decisions, and then being able to execute because you make better decisions. You know, and I get it. You know, you see a lot of people, they want to see their kids put up numbers. Well, that's, you know, it's a game where letters, wins and losses mean more than numbers. Anyway, I've enjoyed seeing you tonight. I'm Ron Sen.
And I'm Ralph LaBella, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Sports.